Hello everybody, welcome to Coding 101. My name is Scootler, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create your very first or your very own weather application using standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's not going to be anything too complicated. I'm going to teach you how to create this using the fetch API function, which is something that I taught in the previous video. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, make sure that you check out that video as well. And make sure that you check out my asynchronous JavaScript video, which is going to teach you how to work with promises, async await, and callback functions. So let's get started. But before we get started, I just want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. And I want to encourage you to also like this video. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave them on the comment section as well. I'd be happy to answer those questions. But please, most importantly, make sure you subscribe. And if you have subscribed, make sure that you turn on your post notifications so that if I drop a video, you are alerted immediately. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it. The first thing that we're going to start with is we're going to use init to just create a simple HTML structure. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to create a title for this application, and we're just going to call it weather app. Simple enough. And before we do anything else, I want to use font awesome icons in this application. So I'm just going to attach the link for font awesome CSS in this application because I want to use that. And before we continue as well, I just want to be able to make sure we're not going to be using external CSS script. We're just going to put everything in our HTML file. So I'm just going to put the style tag inside the header like this. And this is where we're going to put our styles. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that in the body tag, the color for our text is going to be ice blue. And I also want to make sure that the font family for every text that we're going to use in this document is Arial. That's fine. And then now we're going to get started with our app. And the first thing, of course, that we're going to do is that we're going to create a container inside our body element. I'm going to just container. Just like that, we've created our container. And I want to style that container. Just going to come over here again to the style tag. Remember, you can always make a different style CSS file and attach it to the HTML document. I'm going to show you how to do it in the next video, so be prepared for that. In the next, I'm going to show you how to do it in a short video, so watch out for that. I'm going to put container over here. I'm going to put my curly brackets. I want our container to be a flex object, and I want to justify content center. And I also want to align items, and I want to put everything in the center. And then I want to have like a margin, and I'm going to make it 20 pixel. I think that's good. And then the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to create an inner container. And then the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to put an inner container within our HTML, and what we're going to do is that we're going to put an inner container within our container. We're going to give it a couple of styles as well. So let's just create a div, and we're going to name it a class called inner container. That should work. And then we're going to style that class as well. Inner. Oh, I'm supposed to put dot inner contain. Just like that. And what I want to do with our inner container is that I want to give it some width and height. And so I'm just going to give it a width of 300 pixels like that. And I'm going to give it a height of 500 pixels. That should suffice. I'm going to give it a little bit of a border radius, because we don't want it to have hard edges. We just want it to have soft edges, sorry. I'm going to give it 2%. And then we're going to give it a background color as well. I'm going to say we're going to use RGB. We want it to be a little bit blue. So I'm going to say 91, 164. I think that should suffice. And we want this container also to be a flex object, flex item. And we want to make sure that we justify everything inside to the center, and we want to flex direction because we're going to be putting everything in a stack. We want the flex direction to be column. Oh, sorry about that. Column. And we also want to align everything to the center as well. So that is good. So within our inner HTML, we want to start doing putting the things that we want to put in there. So the first thing that we want to do now within our inner container is that we want to start off with the location of the weather, the information that we want to get. So we're going to hard code a few things here, but ultimately we're going to use the Fetch API to dynamically render the location of the weather information that we want to find out. So of course we're going to use a div over here, and then inside we're going to use a p tag, and then we're going to just write New York. Oh, we're just going to use a strong over here. We're going to just write New York over here. And I think we want to style this p tag. I'm just going to do inline styling for this. I want the color. Oh, we don't have to write the color because we already have that. But I do want the font size to be a little bit larger. So I'm going to use font size large over here. And I want an icon next to the weather tag. And this is going to be a location item. So I'm just gonna put it just next to the strong tag over there. So this is gonna be sort of a location icon next to our location. And we're gonna put an ID over here because we want to manipulate this tag by dynamically rendering the text within this tag. So we're gonna give it an ID called, let's see, what can we call it? We can call it location, I think. And call it location. That's fine. And there we go. All right. So I think after this, I think what we would want to do now is we want to go live so that we can see what we've done so far, right? So you can have a clue of where we're going with this. If you have, you can just go live. I hope you're familiar with Live Server. We're going to use Live Server in order to render this HTML. So if you're familiar with Live Server, if you're not familiar with Live Server, I'm going to make another short to explain to you how Live Server works. But for now, we're just going to go live with our Live Server. And this is what we've done so far. We've managed to make this gigantic box. Look at the edges, they're more smoother, they're more round. And we've managed to put the background color in there. And we've managed to also print the location. And this is the icon that we used. This icon is from the Font Awesome library. I'm just going to take this out so that you can be able to see it properly. I'm going to take out the tab. Put it in a new window. I want you to be able to see it much more properly. Okay, I think that's good. So this is where our weather information is going to be. Our weather information is going to be stacked in a column-like filing. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Let's get into our code and do more of this. So we've printed out the location. So now that we are done with the location, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to, by the way, you don't have to use divs over and over again. So now that we did the location, what we want to do is that we want to put the date attribute over here. We're going to give it, we're going to use a p tag to put the date. Let's use a p tag for this. And we're going to style our p tag with a couple of inline stylings. And we're just going to, you know what? I think our p tag is fine with styling. We don't have to use styling. We can just maybe give it an ID. And we're going to call it date. I'm going to put a hard-coded date over here. I'm going to be saying Thursday, June, I don't know, 1993. Yes, that's fine. That's good. And then we're going to move on to the next item, which is the image, the icon that will represent our weather. So if it's sunny, then the sunny icon should be there. If it's cloudy, then the cloud icon should be there as well to represent that it's cloudy. So there are different icons that represent different states of weather. And these are the icons that we're going to put in our image tag. Let's make our image tag. Fine. Put CRC over there. So Open Weather has a library of weather icons that you can look into. So all you have to do is go to openweathermap.org/img, and I think you'll get a lot of weather icons there. There's a way to access them. So there it is. We just put it in there. Of course, we want to put an ALT over that, and we're going to call it weather icon. I think we can look at this is how our weather app looks like so far. We've managed to create the location, the date, and the weather icon as well. I think it looks good so far. So the next thing that of course we're going to do is we are going to put in our temperature, the average temperature for the day. We're going to put a div. You don't necessarily need to put a div tag every time you do this, but just so that it's contained. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to put the temperature. So we're going to put our div tag over here, and once again we're going to create once again we're going to use the p tag to articulate the temperature. We're going to give hold on a sec, I forgot to give this image an ID, because remember, we're going to manipulate this image as well. We're going to have it match to the current weather condition. So I'm going to give it an ID of icon, and I'm going to give this p tag an ID of temperature. How do you spell temperature? Okay, that's good. I think that's fine. I want to style it a little bit. I want the font size to be a little bit larger. I want it to be larger than life. Yes, that's good. And I want it to be XXX large. That's good. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give it a 37 degrees. 37 degrees. I'm going to put a Unicode over here. See if I remember it. 176. And I'm going to do that. So this Unicode represents degree, the sign degree. So this is going to read 37 degrees Celsius. All right. I think that's about it. We can look at our weather app. Awesome. So like I said before, we've statically typed all these things over here, but what we're going to do now is that we're going to try to dynamically render this information using an Open Weather API. So Open Weather is a really good API that many people use. They have a free tier, and I would encourage you to go and use that free tier to create your own weather application. So now we're going to put our script tag over here. Remember once again that we're doing everything inside our index.html file. So the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to declare a few variables that is going to make up our API endpoint. So this is the API endpoint that you're going to use to retrieve your weather information. And you will notice that this API has a couple of variables that are embedded inside. So the API needs to know the city at which you're trying to get that weather information. And it also needs an API key. So you can just go to openweather.org and you can just create a free tier account, and they'll be able to give you your very own API key, which you're going to embed into this API link, and you're going to use it together with the fetch function or keyword to get that weather information. So we're going to use fetch over here. I'm going to put our API link inside. And then we're going to say, because this returns a promise, we're going to say then. I'm going to get our response. I'm going to just say response.json like that. So I'm going to put this on the next line. And then I'm going to create another then. We're going to get our data. And I'm going to put curly brackets over here because we want to manipulate that data. We want to mess around with it. So we're going to destruct this data because this data is a certain format, is in a certain format. I'm going to just show you what I did earlier with the API. This is when I was trying to get the London weather. So this is the response that we're going to get. We're going to get the coordinates. We're going to get the weather. We're going to get the base. We're going to get the main, which entails our temperature minimum, maximum, the pressure, the humidity. We're going to get visibility. We're going to get wind, clouds, and all that type of information. So really what we need from this app, honestly, we just need this. We just need the weather. And then we need the temperature, which is contained under main. That's all we need. We don't need anything else. So that's all we're going to take. So we're going to use destructuring to get those specific elements that we want from that JSON object. If you're not familiar with destructuring, then you should watch my video on JavaScript tricks. You'll learn more about that. So we're just going to come over here, make up curly brackets. Remember, what we really want is the weather information. And you want, what else do we want? Let me just go back in there. We want this, we want the temperature. So we're going to get this main. I'm going to say equals to data. Yeah, I think that's about it. And what we're going to do is that we're going to do some DOM manipulations. We're going to say DOM element by ID. And what we want is, the first thing that we want is that we want to fill the city. So remember, we're getting London's weather. So now we're going to manipulate this tag over here and replace it with the city that we really want. That tag is called as the ID. That is called location. I'm going to say .inner text. I'm going to put city over here. We're going to do another document.element, get element by ID. And what do we want this time? We want the date. So what we're going to do, we're going to put today's date. And so we're just going to put date over here. And then I'm going to say .inner text, which is equals to today's date. I'm going to just say new date, and we're just going to convert that date to a string. .string. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, I think that's good. This is going to automatically convert to a string. We're not done yet. What we're going to do next is we're going to get our weather icon, and we're going to use this link over here. So, how Open Weather differentiates images or icons from one another. It uses this bit over here. There's a code that you have to embed into their link in order to retrieve whatever icon, weather icon that you might be looking for. So that code is contained in our weather array over here. This is where that code is contained. This is our icon. So we're going to put this information inside our link in order to retrieve the image that we want. So we're going to just say document, again, .get element by ID. And I believe ID is icon. And instead of inner text, what we're going to do is we're going to say src because that's an image tag. And we want to replace the src of that image tag. So what we're going to do is that we're going to copy that same link that we have over here. I'm going to use template literals for this. So make backticks. We're going to get rid of the code, and we're going to replace with whatever code that we're going to receive. Remember that this is an array, so we're going to take the first element within that array, and we're going to say .icon. And instead of 3x, we're going to just 2x, we're going to make it 3x to make it a little bit larger. And then after we're done, okay, so I don't know about you, but I'm really missing our app right now, and I want to see how it looks. I'm just gonna go there, and would you look at that? This is what we've done so far. not really. Yeah, I think this as well. This has changed from what it was before to this right here. And I think what we also want to do, I think what we forgot to do actually, is that I wanted us to have a weather description for this. Beneath the icon, I want us to have a description for that weather. We're going to give it an ID of description. We want to be able to describe that weather because it may not be obvious from the icon. Some people want a clear-cut description. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to just document dot get element by ID, and then we're just going to call description. You already know it, dot inner text. So I'm going to say weather 0 dot description. See how easy this is? This is not really complicated at all. And now we're going to look at our app, and you'll notice that nothing seems to have changed. Let's see that maybe there's an error in our application. If there's an error in your application, you know very well. You need to go to the console and figure out that, there we go, HTML line 64. You'll notice that the ID that we have put in here is not the right ID. So we're going to have to edit that in our code. We're going to just go to our code over here. I'm going to put that properly, and I think it should work now. So we're just going to refresh this. There we go. Overcast cloud. There's a description, and you'll notice that our icon has changed, and now we've dynamically rendered it. And you'll notice that the date also represents today's date. So it's the 2nd of July when I made this video. So it's Saturday. So yeah, now we're going to go to the all too most important part, which is putting our temperature within our temperature p tag. I'm going to get element by ID. I'm going to get element by ID, and then we're going to get to that ID, which is temperature. I'm going to just say inner text. No, actually, in this case, we're going to use HTML because we're using Unicode. Like over here, we're using Unicode. So this is sort of an HTML icon. So we have to use, instead of using inner text, we have to use inner HTML so that HTML can recognize that inner code and render it properly. So let's see where our temperature is contained within the main object. Over here, this is our average temperature, 17.95 for the London weather. So we're just going to use template literals. So we're going to use template literals for this. And we're first going to get the weather. We'll just say main.temp. And then after that, we're going to put our Unicode. We're going to take it, which represents degrees. I'm going to put it over here. And then after that, we're going to put our C next to that Unicode. Much larger C. And then after this should be done. Go back to our app. And there you go. So there's our weather app. And you can see the location of the weather. We've put up the date. We've put up the weather icon and the description of that weather. And we've also put up our temperature. So yeah, I hope you can do this. I think I would advise you to try and recreate this for yourself and try to style it much more beautiful or much more perfect than I've styled it. And I think you probably get the hang of how to do it. So once again, if you're not familiar with Fetch, I have a video that teaches all about Fetch. And I also have a video that teaches all about asynchronous JavaScript, including promises. So you might want to watch out for that video, or you might want to watch that video. So other than that, thank you for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you love this video or you like it, and leave a comment in the comment section. Other than that, I will see you next time on Coding 101.